Hi everyone, it's Andrea with the Hippie Art Studio. I have another scrapbooking process video for you today. This layout is about my daughter's first day at daycare back in February. And my paper here is just a scrap piece of paper that I wiped off some excess paint from stencils or my brushes or whatever. I always try and do that. And I'm just showing you some of the products I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using some October Afternoon paper, some enamel dots and gems from Studio G, a sticker sheet from Creative Imaginations. Both those papers are October Afternoon there. So this layout took me about 43 minutes to complete. I'm just giving you the branding strips there so that you know what paper it is, what line it comes from. So I'm trying to decide how I'm going to map my photo. I really liked that lined paper because it definitely reminded me of school, especially younger kids, because it's got the dotted lines like you use when you're learning to write. So I decided to use that as my mat because I figured it would make a great place for my title or my journaling to go on to. So I'm trimming it so that it'll be like a nice size block. And I'm sorry, I'm off camera right now. There's something funky with my camera view for this video. I don't know what was going on with it. I do apologize. So I decided to just kind of rough cut that edge. About how big I'm going to want it for my title and journaling. And then I decide that I still think it needs a little bit of that striped pattern paper. I just don't want a whole lot of it because there's a lot of color from the paint. It's like a lime green and yellow paint along with the peacock feathers distress stain, which were part of my stash kit that I created that was inspired by the Mayhip kit. So I decided to tear the bottom of this mat and I just kind of distressed it a bit more with my fingers. And then I decided to go back in with my scissors and really rough it up a smidge. And then I decided that because the photo block was so big that you really couldn't see a whole lot of the paint. So I decided to splatter on some of that yellow so that it's a bit more visible where my photo block is going to go. And then I add some more of that green in. And then I'll pull out the distress stain, the peacock feathers as well, so that I can have a bit more blue. Because most of the blue is under where the photo block is going to go. And then I just dabbed it with a paper towel because they were rather blotchy. And I'm just using the packaging technique to put a little bit of that distress stain on and then spritzed it with water. And I'm making sure it's dry before I adhere down my photo there. Sorry, I have a bit of a cold still. Been fighting it for about a week. You can't see it currently, but I put a border strip from that Creative Imagination sticker sheet down at the bottom, which I will show you here in a minute. So I'm just trimming it off because it was 12 by 12. And then I start playing around with some of the stickers that are on the sticker sheets. I loved this one that said real life. This was right at drop off for her, and she actually took her first day very, very well. And she was just amazed at all the toys she could play with. And she had a blast. I'm pretty sure she didn't even cry this day. She cried for days afterwards when I would drop her off, but I'm pretty sure she didn't even, like, care that I left on this first day. She was just like, sweet, look at all these cool toys I get to play with. So I'm going through some of these 3x4 and 4x6 cards from Simple Stories Homespun, trying to see if there's anything here that would work. And I decide against those. So I pull out these jelly bean soup little hexies, which perfectly match that peacock feather blue, and I decide to stick one up in this little cluster that I've got going on the top left. And that gives me a place to write down the date. I can't remember right now what the date was. I know it was one of the first couple days in February. Most of February she spent sick, since this was her first experience around like a group of kids. She got sick quite a bit her first couple months of daycare. She even ended up in the hospital in February, so starting daycare was not necessarily a fun experience for us. So I'm going to put down my title, and I'm using a basic gray alpha sheet. And I'm just going to put first day, and I don't have enough capitals and small letters to do the title fully, like capital and then small letters. So I decided to just kind of mix them up, which I think really adds to the little kid, you know, aspect of the layout. Especially lining it up on that writing page. I thought that was a good idea. So I'm just using the plastic sheet there to help me line it up, and then or to space it, I should say, and then I'm just lining it up on the lines of the paper. And she's not really in preschool. She's, you know, in this photo, she's only, I want to say 18 months. So I debate what else I should say, like first day of what, and I decide to go with the little @ symbol there. Yeah, that sticker sheet's from Paper Cottage. And then I use these really cool Amy Tangerine translucent stickers. I believe they're remarks, to put daycare. And it takes me a little bit to do this part because those letters are slightly difficult to get off the sticker sheet. They're like a plasticky film. It's kind of strange, but I really like them. I've used them a ton when I've been using this kit. They've worked out really well. So, we've recently transitioned out of this classroom that this photo is taken of, and she still every morning wants to go down to see Pam in this classroom. I have to explain to her almost every morning that no, we have to go to your new classroom. Since she turned 2, she no longer even goes down the same hallway. So I have to distract her every way down the hallway. We go see the fish, and then we drink out of the drinking fountain just to get her to get to her room. So I'm adding those enamel dots and rhinestones. And then I decide to pull out this jelly bean soup sticker sheet, and I use this one little blue piece on it. It's a blue little circle. So I tuck that under the arrows that were from the Creative Imagination sheet, and just kind of layer that up in a little cluster at the bottom of the photo. And I have this little piece of scrap paper that I'm going to use to kind of pull the blue over by the title, so that I've got kind of a triangle going on between the cluster at the top left, the title, and then the cluster at the bottom right of the photo. And it's a pretty tiny little smidge that you can see there, but I wanted to have those 3 points of blue. And now I'm digging through like my scrap basket, everything that I use everything that I have for this kit that I either pull out to use on a layout or I cut to put on a layout, and I have scraps left, just gets chucked into this little basket that sits on my desk. And then as I'm looking for final touches, I go through it and see what little tidbits I can use. So I pull out these little circles that are from Daily Grind, Simple Stories, as well as some of my homemade embellishments that I did with a circle stamp and a Dear Lizzie stamp, and a couple other little pieces of scrap. And I'm just digging through, and I'm like, okay, that's enough. So I take the little chevron, and I debate on putting it down at the bottom there, where I put the border strip. And I'm debating on those circles. I decide on this green paper to pull some of that green, so I've got the 3 points of the green, same as the blue, and I'm just going to tuck it underneath that blue piece. But of course the blue piece is too tiny to do that with, so I stick it onto the green piece and then just trim down the green piece. That green is from one of my 6x6 pads. I believe I got it at Walmart. So it might be a ColorBox paper. I'm not sure. Like I said, it was in my scraps. I used it on an earlier layout in this kit. I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to put that other little piece of green. See if I like it down there at the bottom. So I tuck those back under that block. And I decide against having that stuff at the bottom. I think about tucking it, but then the chevron it's got like a light chevron pattern, and then the chevrons go different directions between the vertical stripe and the horizontal, so I decided not to do that. And then I cut out that little Polaroid piece from the Dear Lizzie stamp, and I have the inside there that I'm trying to figure out how to make work because it was really cute and the colors worked. That little potty person is from the Daily Grind Simple Stories set, as well as those little light bulbs. I thought the light bulbs were a cute idea since it was like school and ideas and that kind of thing, but they just didn't work color-wise on the layout. Now I ripped this little Polaroid frame while I'm trying to get tape on it, and that irked me because I worked so hard to cut it out perfectly so that it wasn't torn or cut. So anyway, that's life. So I get it stuck down so that you really can't tell. That's why I'm like scrubbing away at it, trying to make sure you can't tell that I ripped it. And then I have this string that I used to make my painted backgrounds for my January divider. And I'm going to twist it around my fingers and then glue it to the page. And it was originally like a silvery white color, and when I did my string backgrounds, it did like a variegated effect on it. So it's like blue and green and yellow, which matches perfectly with this page. So I decided to put that messy little circle in both of the clusters around the photo. Just to give the page a little bit more texture. And a little bit of fun too. So I'm just kind of showing you some close-ups of it. And I think the page is pretty much done. So I kind of fuss around with that string. Decide it needs more tape. But that's my layout. I hope you guys enjoyed it. There will be some close-up stills at the end of the video. So thanks for watching, and I hope you'll stop back again soon. Ta-ta!